Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, endless ocean. The waves crash against the shore, each one carrying with it the whispers of an ancient secret, a truth so profound that it has echoed across civilizations, transcending time and space. This secret, known to 3 of the most advanced ancient civilizations, reveals what happens after death. And the astonishing part? They all arrived at the same conclusion. The Egyptians, the Mayans, and the Tibetans, separated by continents and millennia, each discovered that death is not an end, but a transition, a doorway, a passage into a realm where the soul continues its journey, guided by the same universal laws that govern the cosmos. But how did these civilizations, with no means of communication, come to the same understanding? What did they know that modern science is only beginning to uncover? To answer these questions, we must first journey back in time, to the banks of the Nile, where the ancient Egyptians built their pyramids not as tombs, but as gateways to the afterlife. For them, death was merely a change of state, a transformation from the physical to the spiritual. The soul, or Ka, was believed to travel through the Duat, a mystical realm where it faced trials and judgments before reaching the eternal fields of Aaru. The Egyptians meticulously documented this journey in their Book of the Dead, a guidebook for the soul's passage. But the Egyptians were not alone in their understanding. Across the Atlantic, the Mayans carved their wisdom into stone, depicting death as a cyclical process. Their sacred texts, such as the Popol Vuh, describe the underworld of Xibalba, a place of tests and transformations. For the Mayans, death was not a finality but a rebirth, a return to the source of creation. They believed that the soul, after passing through the trials of Xibalba, would ascend to join the gods in the celestial realm. Meanwhile, in the high mountains of Tibet, Buddhist monks meditated on the Bardo Thödol, or the Tibetan Book of the Dead. This text, a profound spiritual manual, describes the stages of consciousness after death. According to Tibetan tradition, the soul enters the Bardo, an intermediate state where it encounters visions and illusions. These visions are not random, but are manifestations of the soul's karma, its accumulated actions and intentions. The ultimate goal? To achieve liberation and merge with the infinite light of enlightenment. What is striking is not just the similarity of these beliefs, but the precision with which they describe the afterlife. Each civilization, in its own way, understood that death is a process of purification and transformation. The soul, freed from the constraints of the physical body, embarks on a journey through realms of light and shadow, facing its own reflections and ultimately returning to the source of all existence. But how did these ancient cultures, without the tools of modern science, arrive at such a unified understanding? The answer lies in their connection to the universal mind, a collective consciousness that transcends individual cultures and epochs. They tapped into a deeper truth, one that modern physics is only beginning to explore. Quantum mechanics, for instance, suggests that consciousness is fundamental to reality, and that the universe itself may be a mental construct. Could it be that the ancient civilizations, through their rituals and meditations, accessed this universal mind and glimpsed the true nature of existence? As we delve deeper into this mystery, we will explore the specific teachings of each civilization, uncovering the parallels that bind them together. We will examine the rituals, symbols, and texts that reveal their understanding of the afterlife, and we will ask the most profound question of all: what does this ancient wisdom mean for us today? How can we, in our modern world, apply these timeless truths to our own lives? The ancient Egyptians believed that death was not an end, but a transition, a passage from the physical world to the spiritual realm. At the heart of this belief was the Duat, a mysterious underworld where the soul embarked on a perilous journey to reach the afterlife. The Duat was not a place of punishment, but a realm of transformation, where the soul faced trials, encountered gods, and ultimately achieved eternal life. To understand the Duat, we must first understand the Egyptian concept of the soul. Unlike the modern idea of a singular soul, the Egyptians believed that each person was composed of multiple aspects: the Ka, life force; the Ba, personality; the H, transcendent self; and the Ren, name. At death, these elements separated from the body, and the journey through the Duat was the process of reuniting them, transforming the individual into a divine being. The journey began with the weighing of the heart, a ritual depicted in the Book of the Dead. The deceased's heart was placed on a scale, balanced against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul was deemed pure and allowed to proceed. If not, it was devoured by Amit, a fearsome creature part lion, part hippopotamus, and part crocodile. This moment was not just a test of morality, but a profound metaphor for the soul's alignment with cosmic order. But the trials did not end there. The Duat was a labyrinth of gates, each guarded by deities and demons. The soul had to navigate this treacherous landscape, reciting spells and incantations to pass safely. These spells, inscribed on tomb walls and papyri, were not mere superstitions, but precise instructions for navigating the afterlife. They reveal a deep understanding of the soul's journey, one that mirrors the psychological and spiritual challenges we face in life. At the center of the Duat was Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Osiris, who had himself been resurrected after being murdered by his brother Set, symbolized the promise of eternal life. To reach Osiris, the soul had to undergo a series of transformations, shedding its earthly attachments and ascending to a higher state of being. This process was not automatic, but required effort, knowledge, and purity of heart. The Egyptians' meticulous preparation for death, building tombs, preserving bodies through mummification, and filling them with offerings, was not an obsession with mortality, but a celebration of immortality. They believed that the physical world was a reflection of the spiritual realm, and that by aligning their lives with cosmic principles, they could ensure a smooth passage into the afterlife. What can we learn from the Egyptian understanding of the Duat? At its core, the journey through the Duat is a metaphor for the soul's evolution. The trials and transformations represent the challenges we face in life, the choices we make, and the growth we experience. The weighing of the heart reminds us that our actions have consequences, not just in this life, but in the next. And the ultimate goal, union with Osiris, symbolizes the soul's return to its divine source. The Egyptians' wisdom resonates with modern spiritual teachings, which emphasize the importance of self-awareness, integrity, and alignment with higher principles. Their rituals and symbols, though ancient, offer timeless insights into the nature of existence. They remind us that death is not an end, but a continuation of the soul's journey, a journey that begins long before we take our last breath. As we leave the banks of the Nile and journey to the jungles of Mesoamerica, we will discover that the Mayans too had a profound understanding of the afterlife. Their vision of Xibalba, the Mayan Underworld, reveals striking parallels to the Egyptian Duat, suggesting a universal truth that transcends time and culture. Deep within the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, the ancient Mayans built towering pyramids and intricate temples, not just as monuments to their gods, but as portals to the afterlife. For the Mayans, death was not a final destination, but a pivotal moment in an endless cycle of creation, destruction, and rebirth. At the heart of this belief was Xibalba, the Mayan Underworld, a realm of darkness, trials, and transformation. Xibalba, which translates to place of fright, was not a place of eternal punishment, as some might imagine. Instead, it was a testing ground, a labyrinthine underworld where the soul faced challenges designed to purify and prepare it for rebirth. The Mayans believed that the journey through Xibalba was essential for the soul's evolution, a process that mirrored the cycles of nature, day and night, life and death, planting and harvest. The most detailed account of Xibalba comes from the Popol Vuh, the sacred text of the Mayans. This epic narrative tells the story of the hero twins Hunahpu and Xbalanque, who descend into Xibalba to avenge their father and uncle, who had been defeated by the lords of the underworld. The twins' journey is a metaphor for the soul's passage through the afterlife, filled with trials that test their courage, wisdom, and resilience. One of the most striking features of Xibalba is its structure. The underworld is described as a place of deception, where nothing is as it seems. The lords of Xibalba, who rule over this realm, are masters of illusion. They create false paths, phantom rivers, and deadly traps to confuse and ensnare the souls who enter. The hero twins must navigate these illusions, relying on their wits and divine guidance to survive. The trials of Xibalba are not merely physical, but also psychological and spiritual. The soul must confront its fears, illusions, and attachments, shedding the layers of ego that bind it to the material world. This process of purification is essential for the soul's rebirth, as it allows the individual to return to the world with greater wisdom and clarity. The Mayans' understanding of Xibalba reveals a profound insight into the nature of existence. They saw life and death as part of a continuous cycle, where each end was a new beginning. This belief is reflected in their calendar, which was based on complex cycles of time, and in their rituals, which celebrated the interconnectedness of all things. What can we learn from the Mayan vision of Xibalba? At its core, the journey through the underworld is a metaphor for the soul's journey through life. The trials and challenges we face are not random, but are opportunities for growth and transformation. The illusions of Xibalba remind us that the material world is not the ultimate reality, and that true liberation comes from seeing beyond appearances. The Mayans' emphasis on cycles and rebirth also offers a powerful message for our modern world. In a culture that often fears death and clings to the illusion of permanence, the Mayan wisdom reminds us that change is the only constant. By embracing the cycles of life and death, we can find peace and meaning in the midst of uncertainty. As we leave the jungles of Mesoamerica and journey to the high mountains of Tibet, we will discover that the Tibetan Bardo Thödol offers yet another perspective on the afterlife, one that complements and deepens the teachings of the Egyptians and Mayans. High in the Himalayas, where the air is thin and the silence profound, Tibetan monks have long meditated on the nature of life, death, and what lies beyond. Their teachings, encapsulated in the Bardo Thödol, or the Tibetan Book of the Dead, offer a detailed map of the afterlife, a journey through the Bardo, the intermediate state between death and rebirth. The Bardo is not a physical place, but a state of consciousness, a liminal space where the soul confronts its deepest fears, desires, and illusions. According to Tibetan Buddhism, the experiences in the Bardo are shaped by the individual's karma, the accumulated actions, thoughts, and intentions from their lifetime. The Bardo is a mirror, reflecting the soul's true nature and offering opportunities for liberation or rebirth. The journey through the Bardo is divided into 3 stages: the Chikai Bardo, the moment of death; the Chonyad Bardo, the encounter with visions; and the Sidpa Bardo, the process of rebirth. Each stage presents unique challenges and opportunities for the soul. The Chikai Bardo begins at the moment of death, when the soul separates from the physical body. This is a critical moment, as the individual's state of mind determines their initial experience in the Bardo. Those who have cultivated mindfulness and spiritual awareness may recognize the clear light of reality, a luminous emptiness that is the true nature of existence. For these individuals, liberation is possible, as they merge with the infinite and transcend the cycle of rebirth. However, most souls are not prepared for this moment. They are overwhelmed by fear, attachment, or confusion, and fail to recognize the clear light. As a result, they enter the Chonyad Bardo, where they encounter a series of visions. These visions are not external realities, but projections of the soul's own mind. Peaceful deities, representing wisdom and compassion, appear first, followed by wrathful deities, symbolizing the soul's fears and negative karma. The key to navigating the Chonyad Bardo is recognition. If the soul can recognize these visions as manifestations of its own mind, it can transcend them and achieve liberation. If not, it is drawn deeper into the illusions of the Bardo, eventually entering the Sidpa Bardo, where the process of rebirth begins. In the Sidpa Bardo, the soul is driven by its karma and desires, seeking a new body to inhabit. The experiences in this stage are shaped by the individual's past actions and intentions. Those who have lived virtuous lives may be drawn to higher realms, while those doomed by negative karma may be reborn in lower realms. The ultimate goal, however, is not to achieve a favorable rebirth, but to break free from the cycle of samsara altogether. What can we learn from the Tibetan understanding of the Bardo? At its core, the The Bardo is a metaphor for the nature of reality. The visions and experiences in the Bardo are not unique to the afterlife, but are present in our everyday lives. The peaceful and wrathful deities represent the dualities we face: love and fear, joy and sorrow, clarity and confusion. By recognizing these experiences as projections of our own mind, we can transcend them and achieve inner peace. The Bardo also offers a profound insight into the nature of the self. In the Bardo, the soul confronts the illusion of a fixed, independent identity. The ego, which we cling to in life, is revealed as a construct, a temporary aggregation of thoughts, emotions, and memories. This realization is the key to liberation, as it allows the soul to merge with the infinite and experience its true nature. As we reflect on the teachings of the Egyptians, Mayans, and Tibetans, we begin to see a common thread, a universal truth that transcends time and culture. As we stand at the crossroads of ancient wisdom and modern understanding, a profound truth emerges. The secret of what happens after death is not confined to the past. It is a living, breathing reality that resonates with the deepest questions of human existence. The Egyptians, Mayans, and Tibetans, though separated by geography and time, all arrived at the same conclusion. Death is a transition, a journey of the soul through realms of light and shadow, trials and transformations. But what does this ancient wisdom mean for us today? In a world dominated by science and technology, where death is often seen as a biological endpoint, how can we reconcile these timeless teachings with our modern worldview? The answer lies in recognizing that the ancient civilizations were not merely speculating about the afterlife. They were describing a universal process that is as relevant now as it was thousands of years ago. At the heart of this universal process is the idea that consciousness is fundamental to reality. The Egyptians, with their concept of the Ka and the Duat, understood that the soul is an eternal essence that transcends the physical body. The Mayans, with their vision of Xibalba, saw death as a cyclical process of purification and rebirth. The Tibetans, with their teachings on the Bardo, revealed that the afterlife is a reflection of the mind, a journey through the illusions of the self. These insights align with modern scientific discoveries, particularly in the fields of quantum physics and consciousness studies. Quantum mechanics suggests that the universe is not a collection of separate objects, but a web of interconnected energy, where consciousness plays a fundamental role. The idea that the mind shapes reality is not just a spiritual concept, but a scientific hypothesis, supported by experiments, such as the double-slit experiment, which shows that observation affects the behavior of particles. This convergence of ancient wisdom and modern science invites us to reconsider our understanding of life and death. If consciousness is fundamental, then death is not the annihilation of the self, but a transformation of consciousness. The trials and challenges described in the Duat, Xibalba, and Bardo are not just metaphors for the afterlife, but reflections of the psychological and spiritual challenges we face in life. The ancient civilizations also offer practical guidance for navigating these challenges. The Egyptians emphasized the importance of living a life aligned with Ma'at, the principles of truth, justice, and harmony. The Mayans taught the value of resilience and adaptability, embracing the cycles of change. The Tibetans highlighted the power of mindfulness and self-awareness, recognizing the illusions of the ego and merging with the infinite. These teachings are not just abstract philosophies, but practical tools for living a meaningful life. By cultivating integrity, resilience, and mindfulness, we can prepare for the ultimate journey, the journey beyond death. This preparation is not about fear or superstition, but about embracing the fullness of existence, recognizing that life and death are two sides of the same coin. As we reflect on the wisdom of the ancients, we are reminded that the secret of what happens after death is not a mystery to be solved, but a truth to be lived. It is a call to awaken to the deeper dimensions of reality, to recognize the interconnectedness of all things, and to align our lives with the universal principles that govern existence. In the end, the journey through the afterlife is not just a journey of the soul, but a journey of the self. It is a journey of transformation, purification, and ultimately, liberation.